The sky was a dark blue, heavy with clouds. Wind blew through the ruins of an old alien city. Buildings stood broken like bones after a long war. On top of one tall tower, a young alien girl stood alone. Her eyes looked down at the street far. Below, she was barefoot, her skin pale, and her hair covered half of her face. She looked no older than 16 in human years. But her eyes were much older, full of pain, full of silence, full of the weight of too many bad memories. No one was around, no family, no friends, no one to say goodbye to. She whispered something to herself in her own alien language. Then she stepped closer to the edge. From behind, footsteps echoed slow and steady. Not loud, not fast, just enough to be heard. She didn't turn, but her ear twitched. Another step came, and then another. A human voice spoke, low and calm. "Don't do it." She flinched. Her body stiffened. Her eyes widened slightly, but she didn't move away. "Please," the voice said again. "Come back from the edge." Still, she didn't turn around. Her voice cracked as she answered. "Why?" The human stepped closer, hands raised, showing. He meant no harm. He looked young, maybe in his late 20s, with messy brown hair and tired eyes. He wore a worn jacket, dirty boots, and a heavy bag on his back. "I don't know your name," he said, "but I know that no one should die alone." The alien girl blinked, then said, "Then watch me." Her voice was cold, like someone who had nothing left, but the human didn't back away. Instead, he carefully sat down on a broken piece of metal a few feet from her. He didn't try to grab her or shout. He just looked at the side of her face and said, "What happened to you?" She didn't answer. She just stared down at the empty street. The human waited. Wind blew again, pushing her long hair around her face like smoke. Finally she spoke. "Everyone is dead." He didn't say anything. She continued, "My family, my people, my future." Her voice broke. "I have no legs." The human's eyes dropped too. The metal limbs under her cloak, they were old, rusted, shaking in the wind. "I walk on junk," she whispered. "I sleep in the dirt. I eat what others throw away. People see me and look away." Her shoulders trembled, but she stayed on the edge. "I'm not alive," she said. "I'm just breathing." The human's voice was soft. "That's still something." "Not for me," she replied. "I am a ghost, a shadow, a broken thing." The human reached into his bag and pulled out a small packet of food. He held it up. "Do ghosts get hungry?" She turned her head slightly, confused. "I brought this for someone who might need it," he said. "Looks like I found her." She hesitated, then looked away. "I don't need your pity," she said. "It's not pity." The human answered, "It's kindness." The word hit her like a rock. Kindness. No one had said that to her before. Not since the war, not since the fire. Her mind tried to understand it, but it hurt more than she expected. Tears filled her eyes, and she blinked fast to hide them. "I used to stand on a rooftop too." The human said, "A long time ago." She turned her face toward him now. Slowly, "I lost my sister," he said. "I thought I couldn't live anymore either." "What stopped you?" she asked, her voice small. "Someone said something to me," he said. "Something I never forgot." He looked into her eyes and said, "They told me even a broken thing can still shine." She stared at him, frozen. "No one ever said that to me," she whispered. "I'm saying it now." The human said, "You are not nothing." For a long moment, they both stayed silent. Then her metal leg shifted, her body turned a little. She took one small step away from the edge. The human smiled gently. "There's more ahead than just pain." "You don't know that," she said, still shaking. "No," he nodded, "but I believe it. And if you take one step back, I'll walk with you." She looked down once more, then turned fully toward him, and for the first time in years, she took a step not toward death, but toward hope. The alien girl sat on the cold floor of the broken building. Her back leaned against a rusted wall, her metal legs folded beneath her cloak. She didn't cry, but her eyes were glassy, distant. The human sat nearby, quiet, waiting. giving her space. He had not asked for her name again. But somehow his silence felt safe, not empty. Outside, the wind moved across the ruins of what was once a proud alien city. Broken ships, burned homes, shattered glass, all left behind like forgotten memories. She stared at a small metal plate in her hand. It was the tag from a soldier's uniform, her father's. "You asked what happened," she said quietly. "I'll tell you now." The human didn't interrupt, he just listened, his eyes on her, not judging, not rushing. "My planet was not always like this," she began. "It was full of light, song, and wind that smelled like warm bread." She closed her eyes for a second, as if trying to feel it again. "My family lived near the forests," she said. "We were happy." Then her face darkened. "One day the sky screamed," she whispered. "The war came without warning. Explosions, fire, screams, everything turned red and black." She pointed to her legs. "This is what the fire left me with. I was just a child," she said, "crying under rubble, calling for my mother." Her voice trembled, but no one answered. The human looked down, guilt hidden behind his calm face. He knew stories like this, too many from the war. He had seen soldiers proud of their victory, but never thought about the ones left behind like her. "They took me to a camp," she continued. "A place full of others like me. No legs, no arms, no homes. We were not prisoners, but we were not free either. People came to give us food, sometimes, but most came to look at us like broken toys." She looked at him with tired eyes. "No one looked at me the way you did. Human, not like a person." He shifted slightly, uncomfortable, but honored. "Why did they never fix your legs?" he asked. She gave a weak smile. "Because I'm not worth it. Prosthetics are expensive, and I was just a child. With no parents, no power, no voice." "Then they were wrong," he said softly. "You're worth more than all their credits combined." The wind howled through the cracks in the building. She pulled the cloak tighter around herself. "Sometimes," she said, "I used to believe that maybe someone would come for me. My father, or maybe my sister. But then I found his tag in the ruins." She held it up again. "That was all that was left of him. I've been alone ever since." The human leaned forward, his voice calm but serious. "You're not alone anymore," he said. "I'm here now." She blinked. "Why would you help me?" "Because I saw someone standing on the edge, ready to give up," he said. "And I couldn't walk away, because someone once stopped me from jumping too." She tilted her head, curious now. "You said that before," she whispered. "That someone saved you." He nodded slowly. "A stranger, like I am to you. She gave me bread and told me I mattered. I believed her, and it changed everything." The girl looked at her own hands, thin and scarred. "I don't know how to live again," she said. He smiled gently. "You don't have to know yet. You just have to start." She looked down at her legs, the old wires and metal shaking slightly. "They don't work well," she whispered. "Sometimes they spark, then." "I'll fix them," the human said without thinking. Her eyes widened. "You know how?" "I was a field engineer during the war," he said. "Machines, circuits, prosthetics, I learned it all. I can make them better," she hesitated. "But why would you waste your time on me?" He shook his head. "Helping someone live is never a waste." For a long time she didn't say anything. Then she slowly unwrapped part of her leg and showed him the wiring. It was old, broken in places, held together with cloth and luck. He moved closer, gently, touching the metal, examining it with care. "This will take work," he said. "But I can do it." "Do I have to pay?" she asked nervously. "No," he replied. "Just stay alive." She stared at him, the words sinking deep into her soul. Just stay alive. No one had ever given her a reason before. Now she had one. The morning light crawled slowly across the broken floor. The alien girl sat still, her arms wrapped around her knees. Beside her, the human adjusted his tools, preparing to work on her damaged legs. There was a strange silence between them, not cold, not awkward, just quiet, like the silence between two people who had both known pain too deeply. The girl watched him open a small metal box, full of wires, tiny screwdrivers, and energy cells. She tilted her head. "Why do you carry all this?" He looked up with a small smile. "Because someone always needs fixing." She didn't smile back, but she didn't look away either. Her metal leg sparked suddenly, and she winced, without a word. The human moved closer and knelt down. He gently touched the metal, examining each crack, each loose wire. She flinched at first, but didn't pull away. It had been a long time since anyone touched her without disgust or fear. "Hold still," he whispered. "This part might hurt a little." She nodded quietly, watching him work. His fingers were fast and careful. He moved like someone who had done this 100 times, and yet there was something different about the way he handled her. Not like a machine, not like a tool, but like a person. "Does it ever feel like you're not real?" she asked suddenly. The question surprised him. He looked up, confused. "What do you mean?" She looked away, her voice soft and distant. "I don't feel like a person anymore. I feel like a problem, something broken left behind." He paused, thinking. Then he sat back, tools in hand, and looked at her seriously. "You are real," he said. "You breathe, you feel, you think. Even if you're in pain, even if you're hurting, that proves you're alive." She shook her head slowly. "But why does it hurt so much to be alive?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he opened a pouch and pulled out a small photo. It was faded and old, but she could see a little girl in it, smiling. "She was my niece," he said. "She died in the war. I used to ask the same question. Why am I still here when she's not?" She looked at the photo, then at him. "And what answer did you find?" "I didn't," he said simply. "I just chose to keep living. Some days are empty," he added, "but some are not, like today." That made her blink. "Today," she echoed. He nodded. "You're here, talking to me. That's something real." "I think you're stronger than you know." She lowered her head, unsure how to respond. The idea that today could mean something after everything felt strange. She had lived for years thinking life was just waiting to end. But now this human sat beside her, treating her like she mattered. That thought scared her more than death. "Why did you follow me?" she asked, her voice almost a whisper. "You could have just walked past." He looked at her, his eyes tired but warm. "I saw someone who needed help," he said. "And I know what it feels like to be on the edge. No one helped me back then," he added, "until one person did. I promised myself I'd never walk away from someone like that again." Her lips trembled slightly. "I don't know how to live a normal life anymore," she said. "I don't even know what I'm supposed to be." "You don't have to be anything right now," he said. "You just need to keep going." She looked down at her repaired leg. It was still old, still bent, but the sparks were gone. It felt smoother, more stable. "Thank you," she said quietly. "You don't owe me anything," he replied. "But if you want, we can walk together." For a while, she hesitated, then asked, "Where would we go?" "Wherever you want," he said with a soft smile. "Away from pain, maybe toward peace." She stared at him, wondering if that was even possible, but for the first time, she didn't want to return to the rooftop. For the first time, she felt the tiniest light inside her chest. It was small, almost nothing, but it was hope. Asterisk. Wind had softened by the time they left the ruined building. The alien girl walked slowly, her metal legs clicking quietly with every step. The human stayed close beside her, not guiding, not pulling, just walking at her pace. She still limped slightly, but it didn't feel like dragging anymore. For the first time in many days, she wasn't moving just to survive. She was walking toward something, even if she didn't know what. They passed the edge of the broken district. Crumbling towers stood like forgotten gods, staring down at them. With empty eyes, the streets were silent, only the distant cry of a scavenger bird breaking the stillness. The girl glanced at the human from time to time. Her voice finally broke the quiet. Do you think your people regret what they did to my world? The question hung heavy in the air. The human didn't answer right away. He looked up at the ruined skyline, then said, "Some do, some still don't. I can't speak for all of them," he added. "But I regret what I saw and what I didn't stop." She nodded slowly, not judging, just listening. "I used to think all humans were monsters," she admitted. "Until now." They reached a small shelter built under a collapsed bridge. The human had made it his resting place, just a fire pit, a blanket, a small pack of supplies. He motioned for her to sit, and she lowered herself carefully. He handed her a metal cup of warm water, and she held it like it was something precious. "Tell me your name," he said softly. "You never said." She hesitated, then whispered, "Sira." The sound of her name felt strange, even to her. No one had spoken it in a long time, not kindly, not gently. He nodded. "I'm Ray." The silence that followed wasn't awkward this time. It felt right, like something true was settling between them. As the fire cracked, Ray reached into his pack and pulled out a thin book. Its cover was bent and burned, but still held together. Sira raised a brow. "What is that?" "A book of poems," he said. "From Earth. Old words, but sometimes they help." He flipped through the pages, then stopped. "I read this one when I thought I had nothing left," he said. He looked at her, then spoke the words gently. "You are not the end, but the start of something brave. Even broken wings can still chase the sky." Sira froze, her hands tightening around the cup. The words hit something deep inside her. Not like a knife, but like rain falling on dry soil. She didn't understand everything, but her soul felt the meaning. "I've never heard anything like that," she whispered. Ray smiled. "Poetry isn't about understanding, it's about feeling. And you felt it." Sira nodded slowly, her voice low. "Yes." She stared into the fire, the flames dancing in her eyes. "Why do you carry a book like that?" she asked. "When you're just trying to survive." "Because words can be shelter too," Ray answered. "They saved me once. Maybe they'll save you too." Sira placed the cup down and hugged her knees. Her voice was shaky. "No one has ever said anything like that to me. Not in the camp, not in the streets, not even when I begged." Ray looked at her gently. "Then I'm glad I'm the first. You deserve to hear it." She closed her eyes, the firelight painting soft lines across her face. "I don't know how to accept this," she whispered. "Kindness, safety, words that don't hurt. You don't have to accept it all at once," Ray said. "You just have to let it begin." Sira didn't reply, but a single tear slipped down her cheek. She quickly wiped it, embarrassed. Ray didn't say anything. He just looked at the fire with her, letting the moment be real, letting the silence carry meaning. After a while, she leaned back, looking up at the stars through the cracks in the bridge above them. "I used to love the stars," she said. "When I was small, I believed they watched over me. But when the war came, I thought they turned their eyes away." Ray followed her gaze, then whispered, "Maybe they were just waiting for you to look up again." Those words hit her harder than anything else. Not because they were loud, not because they were clever, but because they were said with heart. In that quiet space, something inside Sira shifted. Not healed, not yet, but no longer numb. For the first time in what felt like forever, she wasn't invisible, and as the night grew deeper and the stars grew brighter, she whispered words she never thought she would say again. "Thank you, Ray," he smiled softly. "I'm not going anywhere." Sira walked beside Ray through the narrow path between the broken buildings. Her metal legs still made soft clicking sounds, but now she stood straighter. There was a new light in her eyes, quiet but alive. She didn't know where they were going, but for the first time, she didn't care. She was walking with someone who saw her as more than a body, more than a burden. Ray pointed to a small checkpoint ahead, half buried under rubble. "This used to be a supply drop zone," he said. "Sometimes scavengers still leave food or gear." Sira nodded and followed him quietly, her eyes scanning every corner with alert caution. Old habits from the camps, didn't fade easily. You learn to survive by expecting the worst. They climbed over a wall, and Ray pulled her up by the hand without hesitation. Sierra paused, looking at his hand in hers. No fear, no disgust, no pulling back. He touched her like she was normal, like she was whole. She let go and whispered, "You really don't mind helping me?" Ray turned and gave a soft smile. "Do I look like someone who's forced?" "I want to be here, Sierra." She didn't answer, but her silence said more than words ever could. Inside the checkpoint, they found a few energy bars, 2 cracked canisters of water, and a rolled blanket. Ray handed her one of the bars. "Eat," he said. "You need it more than I do." Sierra hesitated, then unwrapped it and took a small bite. Her stomach twisted with hunger and emotion at the same time. This was kindness without a price. She was used to hearing words like filthy, useless, or burden, but Ray hadn't used a single one of those, not once. "I still feel like I don't belong," she said softly, "like if I disappeared, nothing would change." Ray sat down beside her on a broken crate. He looked straight at her. "You don't have to belong to the world all at once. But you belong here," he pointed gently to his side. "With me." She blinked, unsure what to say. "I'm not strong," she said. "I can't fight, I can't work, I can barely walk." Ray chuckled lightly. "You walked away from death. You survived pain most can't even imagine. That's strength, Sierra." She looked down at her metal feet, then whispered, "I'm still scared." "Good," Ray replied. "That means you still want to live." A loud voice suddenly echoed from outside the checkpoint. "Hey!" "Who's in there?" Ray stood quickly, motioning Sierra to stay low. 2 figures entered the ruins, both human men, wearing scavenger gear and patched-up armor. One of them held a makeshift rifle, the other a long rod with a scanner on the end. "What do you want?" Ray asked, stepping forward calmly. The taller one laughed. "What do you think? We smelled your fire last night," he sneered. "Thought we'd find something valuable." Then the other man spotted Sierra behind Ray. "Whoa," he grinned. "You keeping an alien pet now?" Sierra froze, her hands gripping the edge of the wall. Her breathing became shallow, her past screaming inside her mind. Ray stepped between them, his voice sharp. "She's not a pet, she's a person." The shorter man raised his weapon. "We don't care what she is. Rules say they don't belong in human zones." Ray didn't flinch. "There are no zones left," he said. "Only people trying to survive. She's one of them." Sierra watched, heart pounding, ready to run, ready to crawl if needed. But then she saw something else. Ray's hands were up, but his eyes didn't shake. He was protecting her, not because he had to, but because he chose to. "Back off," Ray said firmly, "before someone gets hurt." The 2 men exchanged glances, then slowly backed away. "Crazy human," one muttered, "risking his life for scrap metal." Sierra heard it, every word cutting like a knife. But she also saw Ray, standing tall between her and the world, and for the first time, she didn't feel like scrap. She felt seen. When the men left, Ray turned to her. "You okay?" She nodded slowly, then whispered, "Why did you do that?" "They could have killed you." Ray shrugged. "I'd rather stand up for someone than live in fear. I've done enough hiding in my life." Sierra stepped closer, her voice shaking. "No one has ever defended me before." "No one." Ray looked at her gently. "Then they were all wrong. I see you, Sierra. You're not a burden, you're a being." Her lips parted slightly, the words hitting deeper than anything before. She didn't cry this time. She simply nodded and took another step forward, not because she was forced to, but because she finally believed she could. The sun was setting again, painting the ruined skyline in orange and blood red. Sierra and Ray had returned to the shelter under the broken bridge. She sat with her back against the stone, watching the wind move ash and dust across the streets. Ray was cleaning the wires of her leg, silent but focused. The memory of the 2 scavengers from earlier still hung heavy in the air. "Do you think they'll come back?" Sierra asked softly. Ray looked up. "Maybe. But if they do, They'll find me standing in the way again. She gave a faint smile, but there was fear in her eyes. Why do they hate me? She whispered. They don't even know me. Ray wiped his hands and sat beside her. Because they're afraid, he said. And people who are afraid often turn cruel. They think blaming someone else will make their pain smaller. But I didn't start the war, Sira said, her voice trembling. I didn't hurt anyone. You didn't have to. Ray replied, to them, your face is a reminder of everything they lost. But that's not your fault. Sira looked down at her hands, scarred and trembling. I used to believe my life had no value, she whispered. But now I'm scared to hope. Then let's be scared together, Ray said gently. Hope is worth it. That night, while Sira slept curled in the corner, Ray sat near the fire. He thought about the past, about the war, about all the things he did and didn't do. Helping Sira didn't erase those ghosts, but it gave him something to protect, something to believe in again. The next morning came with bitter news. While searching near the outskirts for fresh water, Ray spotted a painted message. On a wall, it was written in red, humans first, aliens out. Sira saw it too when she joined him. Her shoulders stiffened, her eyes dropped to the ground. They know we're together, she said quietly. Ray nodded. Looks like it. We need to be careful. But caution wasn't enough that afternoon. When Ray tried to trade parts at an old outpost, the guard stopped him. Sorry, Ray, the man said. Can't help you anymore. You've got that alien freak with you. She's not a freak, Ray snapped. She's injured, she's lost, she needs help. And she's not human, the guard growled. We're already barely surviving ourselves. You want to help someone like that? Do it far from here. Ray returned with nothing but silence in his heart. Sira could see it in his face before he even spoke. They turned you away, she said, already knowing the answer. They're afraid, he admitted, and angry. Sira turned her back, hiding her face. This is what I feared, she said. That if I got close to someone, they'd suffer too. I bring ruin. Wherever I go. Ray moved beside her, not touching, just sitting close. You didn't bring ruin, he said. The war did. And the ones who still cling to hate. But what if I'm not worth the fight? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. What if I'm too broken? Ray reached into his bag and pulled out a tiny mirror. He held it up to her. Look at yourself, he said. Really look. She did slowly, unsure, afraid. Her reflection showed a thin girl with tired eyes and patched metal legs, a face marked by pain, but also just faintly, by strength, by survival. I see someone who didn't give up, Ray said. Even when she wanted to. I see someone who stood on the edge of death and chose life. I see someone worth everything. Tears slipped down her cheeks. Slow and quiet, she didn't hide them this time. Why are you still here? She asked, when everyone else turned away. Because I'm not everyone, Ray said, and neither are you. That night, they packed their few belongings. They couldn't stay here anymore, not with threats painted on walls and whispers growing louder. We'll find a place that doesn't hate, Ray said as he tightened the straps on his bag. Sira stood beside him, legs unsteady but ready. We'll make one, she said quietly. If we have to. As they left the ruins behind, more than dust followed them. Fear, yes. Anger from others, yes. But also something stronger, something louder in the silence. They had each other. And sometimes, that was enough to begin a new world. The road ahead was dry, cracked and long. But Sira didn't stop. Her metal legs still squeaked now and then. But they carried her without shaking. Ray walked beside her, his backpack lighter than before. They had left behind the ashes of a ruined world, but carried hope in its place. They had passed abandoned towns, broken ships half buried in sand, and old roads once filled with life. Now those places were quiet. But the silence wasn't cold anymore, not when they walked together. Sira had changed. She still carried pain, still had scars, but her shoulders were straighter now. Her eyes didn't hide anymore. The girl who once stood on the edge ready to fall, had now become something else. Not just a survivor, but someone learning to live one night. As they camped beside a fallen statue of a long-forgotten hero, Sira looked up at the stars. "Do you think there's still a place for people like us?" she asked softly. Ray lay beside her on the ground, watching the same sky. "Not just a place," he said, "but maybe a future." She smiled faintly. "I want that. A future," he turned to her. "Then let's build it. But peace never comes without one last test." The next morning, smoke rose in the distance. Ray's eyes narrowed. "That's not good." They approached carefully, staying low, moving through the tall grass and broken fences. Sira's breath caught when she saw it. A group of scavengers surrounding a small alien family. A mother and her child, both injured, both crying. Two armed men stood over them, yelling threats. Ray's voice dropped. "We have to help them." Sira touched his arm. "But they're dangerous." He looked her in the eye. "So were the ones who nearly took you from this world. I can't walk away again." Sira swallowed hard, then nodded together. They stepped out into view. "Leave them alone," Ray shouted, his voice steady. The scavengers turned, shocked to see him. One of them sneered. "Well, look who it is. The alien lover." Ray didn't flinch. "You want to fight, fine. But you'll have to go through me." Sira stepped forward beside him. Her voice was clear. "And me," the men laughed. "You can barely walk," one mocked. "You'll die first." Sira stared at him with calm fire in her eyes. "Then I'll die standing." That moment changed something in the air. Even the scavengers paused, unsure. There was power in her voice, real power, not from weapons or armor, but from truth. From someone who had been through hell and still stood tall. The leader of the group grunted. "Not worth it." He signaled the others. And they walked away, spitting curses, but not bullets. When they were gone, Sira rushed to the alien child. The mother cried as she held her daughter tightly, whispering thanks in a language only Sira understood. Ray handed them water, wrapped a bandage around the child's arm, and smiled. "They're safe now," he said. Sira looked at him, her heart heavy but full. "You were willing to die for them." He nodded. "Like I was for you. Sometimes one life saves many." As the alien mother led her child away, Sira stood in silence. Then she turned to Ray. "I want to be like you. Someone who stands up, someone who helps." Ray smiled. "You already are." They walked again, this time with the sun at their backs. Days passed, and finally, in the valley between the hills, they saw it. A small human alien settlement, hidden and growing. No walls, no hate. Just people working together, building something new. Children played in the fields, some with strange tales, others with human skin. Elders sat in circles, sharing food and stories. It wasn't perfect, but it was a beginning. Ray looked at Sira. "Do you want to try?" She nodded. "Yes, I'm ready." They were greeted at the edge of the camp by a woman with gray skin and bright eyes. She looked at Sira's legs, then smiled. "We have a healer," she said. "She can help you walk better." Sira blinked. "You would do that for me?" The woman nodded. "You belong here. No more edges." Ray placed a hand on Sira's shoulder. She looked around at the sky, the people, the dirt under her feet, and for the first time since the war, she didn't feel like a stranger. She felt like part of the world again. That night, under the stars, Sira sat beside Ray. She whispered, "If you hadn't said those words that day, I'd be gone." Ray didn't look away, but I did. "And now," she said, smiling through tears, "I'm alive, because one human refused to walk away." From the edge of death, Sira had found her place, and now finally she was free.